In this program, we'll check out another type of loop, a do-while loop. This will be a post-test loop. The condition will be checked at the end instead of at the beginning. So it's guaranteed the loop is going to run at least one time. So I'll call this class do-while loop. So again, we're going to learn about do-while loops, and these will be post-test loops. We're also going to learn about something called sentinel values. You may have learned about these in another programming class. All right, let's get a scanner object. I'll call it keyboard, and import the necessary items. You know I like to move them around here. I don't like them at the very top, the import statements. So I'll slide them down, or slide this one down. And we're going to keep track of some super mushrooms, total super mushrooms, for an entire time of playing several games of Mario Kart. I don't want you to think these are some kind of crazy super mushrooms that we're not supposed to have. These are okay super mushrooms. If you're not sure what they look like this. All right, that's what we're collecting. And that will be the total of all the super mushrooms we've collected from all the games we've played. The super mushrooms collected in just this particular game will be in the variable this game super mushrooms. So again, these are just the super mushrooms from one individual game, the current game that we're on. We'll also keep track of the game number. And you'll notice we're initializing all these values at 0. This will be the number of games we've played, and also it will be the current game number. All right, let's get the super mushroom information from our users. And I'll start with do at the top, and after the braces, I'll put while. The parentheses after while will hold the expression that will determine if this loop is going to continue to run. As long as it's true, the loop will run. We're going to say that as long as this game super mushrooms does not equal -1, we want this loop to keep going, because we're going to have -1 as a sentinel value. That will be our indication that the users are done and they have no more super mushroom data to enter. So we should stop when users enter -1. So as long as they didn't enter -1, we need the loop to keep going. So again, we call the stopping value a sentinel value, and it should be a value that no one would ever confuse for real actual data. That's why I picked -1 this time, because no one would actually expect -1 to be an acceptable amount of super mushrooms to accumulate in a game. So always try to select something that would never make sense for a user to actually enter in, so you don't get confused about, well, should this be actual data or should this be a sentinel value telling us to stop? In this case, there's no confusion. No one would really expect -1 to work, so it's great to use. Now I could put game number ++ here, because every time the users play a game in this loop, we want it to go up by 1, but we're going to do something fancy with prefix on another line to show you how we can do two things at once. So we'll have system.out.print, because the users are going to get ready to enter some information, and we want them to enter the number of super mushrooms that they've collected or picked up in this game. And the current game is supposed to be in game number. Of course, game number the very first time is 0. But we don't want to start game number at 0 for the users. We want game number to actually be game number 1. So, I'll put ++ in front of game number. That's prefix. The value of game number will go up by 1 before it is returned to be displayed here. That means once game number is displayed in this line of code, it's actually going to by that time be the number 1 first time through. It's always being incremented by 1 before it gets displayed. And then of course we'll tell users to enter -1 to stop. And we'll make this game Super Mushrooms equal keyboard.nextInt. And you'll notice it does say game number 1 because of prefix. All right. We'll add to the total Super Mushrooms that we're keeping track of, except not if the users entered -1. So if this game Super Mushrooms is -1, we really don't want to add that in. So if this game Super Mushrooms does not equal -1, we're okay to add to our running total called total Super Mushrooms. If the users did equal -1, it would not pass this if test. It would be false for that expression, and what's inside this if block would not execute. But as long as the users didn't enter -1, then we need to add this game Super Mushrooms to total Super Mushrooms. Let's try it out. -1 did get us out of the loop. So far, things seem to be okay. After this loop is over, maybe we would like to display the number of games that were played. We'll see if the game number variable can help us out here. We'll run the program and enter in some data. Game number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. But number 5 I didn't really play, so I'll enter in -1. Whoa, but it says the number of games is 5 because game number did get up to 5. So I'll need to take that into consideration. Looks like we're going to have to subtract 1 from game number because the last game didn't actually get played. We incremented game number up there on lines 30-31, but the last time that happens is for a game that didn't actually get played. So we're going to have to take 1 away from the number of games. And we can do that with game number minus. That will decrement game number. It'll drop it by 1, and it should give us an accurate number of games that are played. We did play game number 1, 2, 3, and 4. We didn't play game number 5, and look, the number of games is now 4. We should also have an accurate count of the total Super Mushrooms from all of the games. Again, this loop is going to run for sure the first time, and then it checks at the bottom, because it's a post-test loop, to see if the users entered -1. But it will guarantee to run at least 1 time. And there we go. We played 5 games because we entered -1 on game number 6, and the total Super Mushrooms does equal 108. We made sure that -1 had no impact in that if block on lines 35-37. So again, a do-while loop is a post-test loop. The loop is guaranteed to run 1 time, and then the condition is checked at the bottom. And also be careful, it's easy to forget, you do have to put a semicolon after your while statement. That while statement follows the ending brace of the loop.